in data collection methods, we started this secondary data. What is secondary data we have seen, and then characteristics of secondary data, then advantages and disadvantages of this secondary data. Later we went towards sources of secondary data sources. Some examples we discussed, and then we went towards primary data collection methods. In primary data collection methods, we have seen what is primary data and the methods of collecting primary data. There we have seen observation method, interview method, questionnaire method, schedules, consumer panels, and projective techniques. While discussing all six primary data collection methods, we have seen their characteristics, their advantages, their disadvantages. Today we'll see the important part of this second module, that is questionnaire design. So we have seen what is questionnaire method and how it is used in a survey, either face to face or through mail or through telephone or through internet. Today we will see what is this questionnaire and how it is constructed, what are the steps involved in questionnaire design. Fine. All of you are following?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Well, first we will see what is questionnaire. A questionnaire is a formalized set of questions for obtaining information from the respondents. It's a tool. Questionnaire is a tool which is formally designed, and a set of questions are framed for obtaining information from the respondents. So we are going for these secondary data sources or primary data sources for collecting the data to address our management problem and research problem, as well as to meet the research objectives. So for that reason, we were relying upon the primary data collection methods. There we thought that questionnaire method will be useful for our project. If the project which we have started before lockdown, if it was continued, then we would have used this questionnaire, and we were in the phase of designing the questionnaire and collecting the information from the respondents. Unfortunately, due to this corona pandemic, we were unable to do our project. Even now also it is not possible, as the situation doesn't support. Fine. Let's see. Questionnaire is a formalized set of questions for obtaining information from the respondents. Of course, it's a formalized set of questions. A set of questions a researcher will draft to collect the information from the respondents. And these questions may be close-ended questions, open-ended questions, dichotomous questions, multiple choice questions, scaling techniques, etc. So questionnaire means a formalized set of questions which are arranged chronologically, meaningfully, for obtaining information from the respondents. Fine. Then steps involved in questionnaire design process. There are 10 steps involved in designing a questionnaire. Each steps will guide the researcher or the person who is designing the questionnaire, and also alerts the researcher whenever he or she commits any mistake or allows the bugs in questionnaires. Let us see one by one what happens in these steps, and let us learn these steps, and will be able to design a questionnaire. Fine. First step, specify the information needed. So in the first and foremost step of questionnaire, a researcher has to specify the information needed. Why we are using the questionnaire? We are using the questionnaire to collect the information from the respondents. What information do you collect from the respondents? That you need to specify or state the information needed from the respondents. Based upon the research problem and research objectives, information needed can be stated broadly. If we have a clear-cut research problem and research objectives. Based upon them, we can state the information needed. Fine. All of you agree?
Sir.
Then specify the
Yes,
type
sir.
of interviewing method. So once you specify the information needed, what information do you need? Maybe you may need some information, something like the customer profile you want. You want to know whether customers are aware about your product or services, whether customers are using your products or services, what is their attitude level towards your products or services, what is their perception, what is their opinion, how do they perceive your products, what is the opinion of the customer about the competitors products. All this information we needed, we stated these information in the form of research problem and research objectives. Now in the second step, we need to specify the type of interviewing method. You know the different types of interviewing method. First one was face-to-face interview, then mail interview, then telephonic interview, then online interview method. So now, which type of interviewing method is suitable for you? Decide which type of the interviewing method will be adopted for collecting the information needed, which is stated in first step. So in first step, we decide what information needed to collect. And in second step, we decide which type of interviewing method we need to adopt. A researcher may go for structured or unstructured interviewing method as per the requirement. So it depends upon the researcher which interview method he or she prefers, either structured interview method or unstructured interview method. What is structured interview method then? Structured interview method is a method where an interviewer will prepare everything for the interview well in advance. For example, we adopt a interviewing method, structured interviewing method. For that, we design the questionnaire well in advance, and we inform the interviewer well in advance, and we set the time for interview. At that specific time, we start our interview. Interviewer and interviewee will be there in the interviewing method, and set of questions will be asked to the interviewee, then information will be collected from them. This is called structured interview method. Whereas unstructured interview method means spontaneously going to the field and approaching anyone, collecting the information from them. That is called unstructured interviewing method. Both the methods are used in different cases, and both the methods are having some advantages as well as disadvantages. Fine. Following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then the next step is determine the content of individual questions. So you specified the information needed, you decided which interview method is suitable. Now you have to decide the content of individual questions. In a questionnaire, first you will introduce yourselves, that myself, ABC, studying in MBA second semester. As a part of my curriculum, I am conducting a research on customer satisfaction level towards XYZ company. In this regard, I request you to fill the form and provide the information. The information collected by you will be kept confidential and will be used for academic purpose only. In this way, the first part of the questionnaire, that is introduction, will be drafted. And in the second part of the questionnaire, personal details of the respondents. The personal details like name of the respondent, age of the respondent, gender of the respondent, annual income of the respondent, mobile number, email ID, address, family size. All this information will be collected in the personal details. And then comes your questions. Now you have to determine the content of individual questions for this part. The third part. First part was introduction of the researcher. Second part was respondent's profile, and third part is the questions. So this part you have to determine the content of individual questions. If there is no satisfactory use for the data resulting from a question, that question should be eliminated. So designing a questionnaire as well as drafting a question is an art as well as science. You are not supposed to copy any question from the internet or somewhere else and paste it in your questionnaire and ask the question. That may be irrelevant for your survey. That's what, prepare your own questions based upon your objectives. Take first objective and write some questions for it. I think we did this exercise in our previous classes. Do you remember? Anyone who were present in the previous classes at college? Fine then. Are several questions needed instead of one? Sometimes several questions are needed to obtain the required information in an unambiguous manner. Some researchers, what they do is they club all the questions in one question and ask it to the respondents. Something like here, one question is in an unambiguous manner. Do you think Coca-Cola is a tasty and refreshing soft drink? This question looks correct, good, but it is incorrect. Such a question is called as double-barreled question because you are including two variables here. One is taste, another is refresh. You can't club both the variables in one question because the respondent will get confused. What answer he or she has to give for this question? Do you think Coca-Cola is a tasty and refreshing soft drinks? There are three permutations and combinations you can find. First one is both they may like or they may feel Coca-Cola as tasty and refreshing. Second one is they may think Coca-Cola is a tasty one. And third one is they may think Coca-Cola is a refreshing one. Then what answer they have to give? If they say yes, means they are agreeing Coca-Cola is tasty and refreshing. Whereas the respondent is not agreeing it's a refreshing soft drink. That's what. Avoid double-barrel questions. Two or more questions are combined into one is called as double-barrel question. To obtain the required information, two distinct questions should be asked. Instead of asking the question, do you think Coca-Cola is a tasty and refreshing soft drink? You split this question into two questions and ask, do you think Coca-Cola is a tasty soft drink? Very simple, clear, straight, no ambiguity. Directly ask them, do you think Coca-Cola is a tasty soft drink? Either they may say yes or no. If you club both tasty and refreshing, then they get confused what to answer, yes or no. That's what, split that question and make the questions like this. And second question you ask, do you think Coca-Cola is a refreshing soft drink? Let them answer yes or no. Hope you got this double-barreled question. When you club two or more variables in one question and ask the questions to the respondents. Following?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Next step, design the question to overcome the respondent's inability and unwillingness to answer. A question should be designed in such a way that respondents should not feel that they can't answer. They are unable and not ready to answer. In situations where not all respondents are likely to be informed about the topic of interest, filter questions that measure familiarity and past experience should be asked before questions about the topic themselves. So arranging of the question is very important. You are not supposed to ask the questions which targets on experience in the initial part of the questionnaire. You have to ask them later. First, you ask the questions related to the topic themselves. A don't know option appears to reduce uninformed responses without reducing the response rate. Sometimes respondent may not be able to answer a question because he or she can't remember the incident. In those situations, you can use an option called don't know, so that option will reduce the uninformed responses. Fine. Now, let us take a small example to understand how the questions make the respondents to feel enable as well as unwillingness to answer. Fine. One question here, example is, how many gallons of soft drinks did you consume during the last 4 weeks? You wanted to know the consumption of the respondents, of soft drinks in a week, and you will frame a question in such a way that will provide you the information. And you start ask them, how many gallons of soft drinks did you consume during the last 4 weeks? It's not a right way to ask the question. Gallon is a measurement of measuring the water size. All of you are following? If you ask them how many liters of soft drinks did you consume during the last 4 weeks, they will never measure how many liters they drank. Am I right? Instead of asking this inability and unwillingness kind of a question or a response, you can ask the same question in different fashion, something like, how often do you consume soft drinks in a typical week? Use this method. It's systematic, meaningful, and also helps the respondent to answer. If you ask them how many liters of soft drinks did you consume during the last 4 weeks, then they won't remember or they can't express it in a gallons. That's what you make the question as, how often do you consume soft drinks in a typical week? With options. First option as less than once in a week. Second option as 1 to 3 times per week. Third option as 4 to 6 times per week. And fourth option as 7 or more times per week. So you ask them in this way. So let them pick the first option as less than once a week. Means he consumes soft drinks less than once in a week. Or second option as 1 to 3 times per week. Or third option as 4 to 6 times per week. Fourth option as 7 or more times per week. So before to this question, you ask them which size of soft drinks do you consume. They will give you 100 ml, 300 ml, 500 ml, 1 liter, 2 liter. So if they say 300 milliliter, then with the help of that answer, you can measure how many liters they consume soft drinks in a week. Maybe 1 to 3 if they say 900 ml, 4 to 6 means 1.8 liter, 7 or more means more than 2 liters per week. So this is very useful and meaningful way of collecting the information from the respondents, instead of asking them how many gallons of soft drinks did you consume in the last 4 weeks. Am I right? So another example for this question, instead of asking them how many kilos of Maggi did you consume during the last 4 weeks, if I ask you all, how many kilograms of Maggi did you consume during the last 4 weeks, then you will get confused and unable to answer, because you never weigh how much Maggi did you consume. Fine. But instead of that, I can ask you, how often do you consume Maggi in a typical week? Less than once in a week, 1 to 3 times per week, 4 to 6 times per week, 7 or more times per week. So your question should be helpful as well as overcome the respondent's inability and unwillingness to answer. Following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the next step is about decide on the question structure. How your question structure should be. Two types of questions you will find. One is unstructured, another is structured. Unstructured means open-ended questions. Structured means closed-ended questions. Usually, in academics as well as in corporate, unstructured questions are not used because for analysis of those questions using softwares is very difficult. So most of the researcher nowadays they prefer structured questions. Those are close-ended questions. So two types of questions. One is close-ended, another is open-ended. So open-ended questions are called unstructured questions. Close-ended questions are called structured questions. Again, in structured questions, there are three types of questions. One is multiple choice question, another is dichotomous question, and the third one is scales. So let us see one by one what are these multiple choice, dichotomous, and scale questions. The first one, multiple choice questions. A question with multiple choices is called as multiple choice question. For example, from the following brands of mobile, which mobile brand or brands are you aware of? From the following mobile brands, which mobile brand or brands are you aware of? First option, Samsung. Second option, Micromax. Third option, Honor. Fourth option, Samsung. Fifth option, Sony, Lava, Carbon, Oppo, Vivo. So I will give all these options. Now multiple choice means a respondent can choose multiple choices. If he is aware all the brands, let him tick all the brands. If he is aware 4, let him tick 4. If he is aware 3, let him tick 3. So these multiple choice questions enables the respondents to pick more than one option, and these options are very useful when you are interested to know the awareness level of the customer towards any brand. Fine. Then comes dichotomous questions. Dichotomous means di means two, cotomous means options. Two option questions. A question with two options are called as dichotomous questions. Now, the one simple example. What is your gender? Male, female. Dichotomous options. Only two. Are you aware of XYZ company? Yes or no? A question with two options are called as dichotomous questions. Hope you are following. Everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then comes scales. So scales are used to measure the attitude, perception, as well as psychological aspects of the respondents. When you can't measure the psychological aspects with the help of multiple choice questions, dichotomous questions, then you can go for scaling techniques and use different scaling techniques in the questionnaire to measure or to quantify the psychological aspects of the respondents. Fine. Then comes determine the question wording. So till now we discussed these 6 or 5 steps in questionnaire design. If you have any questions, please you can ask. I will run the slides, read one by one. If you have any doubts or any questions in any slide, please ask me. Okay, this is clear. When the two variables are clubbed in one question, that will become a hurdle for the respondent to answer. We split the questions and ask two different questions. And designing the question to overcome respondents' inability and unwillingness to answer. So instead of asking them a complex kind of a question, you can ask them simple questions and decide on the question structure, what kind of questions you want to include in your questionnaire. Specify the information needed. We specify the information needed using the research problem and research objectives, and then we will come to know what information we needed. And in specifying the type of interview method, we specify or state what type of interview method we will use, structured interview method or unstructured interview method. Then determine the content of individual questions. So we will not ask the questions which are clubbed with more than one or two variables. Design the question to overcome the respondents' inability and unwillingness to answer. Instead of asking them how many liters, how many kg of water or food you consumed in the last week, we ask them how frequent or how many times that you consumed the water or cold drinks or food in a typical week. And then we went towards decide on question structure, that is what kind of a question we include in the questionnaire, either structured questionnaire or unstructured questions. In structured questions, there are three types of questions we can ask them. One is multiple choice question, a question with multiple choices, and second one is dichotomous question, a question with two options. Scaling techniques, whenever we need to measure the consumer's attitude and perception, as well as wanted to know the psychological aspects of the respondents, then we need to go for scaling techniques. Fine. So this is about decide on the question structure. Any questions? Any doubts? Please.
No, sir.
Now, the 50% of this questionnaire design process is over. The remaining part we will continue in our next class. Shall we close here?
Okay, sir.